Alabama heads to spring practice in a couple weeks, and of course, they've got to replace one of the most prolific quarterbacks, not just in the SEC, but if you really grind down at the statistics and the winning percentage, one of the most prolific quarterbacks in the history of college football. We got Stephen M. Smith on the line from touchdownalabama.com. Please join him right there as they cover Alabama sports across the board each and every day, and of course, football is king. Stephen, how you doing today?
Doing well, Mark, and now it's time for the best part of the conversation is looking at these positional breakdowns that we go through every spring.
Love this. So Stephen's been coming on, I don't know, 5 or 6 years and breaking down Alabama position by position as we head toward spring camp. Of course, as many defections as Alabama has typically going to the NFL, early entries into the NFL draft, and then the high caliber freshmen that come in, there's a lot of churn to the roster each and every year. So let's start at the quarterback position with Tua Tagovailoa. From the point in which he was terrorizing defenses and mop-up duty in relief of Jalen Hurts back in 2017 to obviously being called to duty in the national championship game and coming through in spades to taking over the job, posting a prolific season in 2018, being on the way. I think people forget he gets lost to a certain extent because of what Joe Burrow accomplished and the Heisman candidacy list of a J.K. Dobbins and a Jonathan Taylor and of course, Jalen Hurts then moving his way into the Heisman talk, and Justin Fields, that Tua had just as an outstanding season in 2019. He was on his way with an incredible 33-3 touchdown to interception ratio before he was banged up and had a prolific game against LSU and almost bringing back the Tide to win that one with over 400 yards passing. That before we dive into the 2020 class of quarterback, just your thoughts on Tua's legacy and what he accomplished.
Tua brought Alabama fans, Mark, something that they have never seen before. And, Crimson Tide fans at one point in time were used to just guys getting the job done from a game manager perspective. And that's no offense to the Greg McElroys, A.J. McCarrons, and Jacob Cokers of the world. They won national championships, but Tide fans were not used to being dominant in style, so to speak, being able to drop 40 and 50 and 60 points per game at will. It's almost like you walk into a 2-star hotel and you go, oh, this is nice, this is great, just somewhere to lay my head and get from point A to point B. But when you step into a 4 and a 5-star hotel, you're thinking, wow, jacuzzi tub. Wow, 5 stories of stations. Wow, great pool right here. Man, I never thought hotel living could be like this. And that's what Tua Tagovailoa exposed to, Crimson Tide fans, the idea of not only could you get the job done at quarterback, but you could get the job done in style, whether it was, as you mentioned, coming off the bench in mop-up duty for Jalen Hurts or being thrown into action in the national championship game against Georgia and throwing 3 critical touchdowns, including one, the 41-yard game winner on 2nd and 26 to secure a 26-23 win. The following year was a consensus All-American, became the 4th 3,000-yard passer of the Nick Saban era in 2018 with 3,966 passing yards, finished runner-up to the Heisman Trophy behind Kyler Murray of Oklahoma. And it's just really unfortunate that the injuries hit Tua the way they did, because if he could have stayed healthy, you're talking about somebody that had tremendous potential to not only win the Heisman Trophy, but to go from start to finish being a national championship quarterback. So his legacy is something that he gave Alabama fans a part of football that they never really experienced. They have never been exposed to, and he will be missed for that.
Now we talk 2020 with Stephen. You can join Stephen again at touchdownalabama.com. Please like, comment, share the videos, and subscribe right here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. And as you see on the banner, it's very important that you follow me on Twitter as well. All right, in steps Mac Jones. And if you just look purely at statistics, 68%, 14 touchdowns, 3 picks, as good or better than 90-some% of the quarterbacks in the country when you're looking at percentage touchdown to interception ratio. I'm going to be very unfair here and let you know the first the first incidents in the season that come to mind concerning Mac Jones for me. Number one, he steps in against Tennessee. He doesn't necessarily look comfortable. It was a very close game. There was a fumble at the goal line that Alabama would have possibly been in a one-score game. It was closer than expected against the Vols. And then, of course, the 2-interception pick six situation against Auburn, in which he still threw 4 touchdown passes and threw for a ton of yardage in that game. I know that he played extremely well. Those are the first 2 things that come to mind. And it's understandable for a guy getting his first extensive play in meaningful minutes against good teams.
It is. And the Tennessee matchup, Mark, came in a situation where Tua Tagovailoa goes down with an ankle injury, and there's no pep talk. There's no explanation. It's just Mac, take your sip of water, put the water down, get out there. And he has to get out there and try to maneuver the ship of, Tua going down with the injury. And after being sort of uncomfortable at first, he made some good throws. He put some passes in the right spots, just kind of a learning experience for him. Going up against Auburn, obviously one of the best defensive fronts in college football that year. Marlon Davidson, Derek Brown, both first-round draft picks for the Tigers, projected first-round draft picks. And despite the pressure that was getting to Mac Jones in that game, still had 335 passing yards, a season high and a career high for him, despite the 2 pick sixes, threw for 4 touchdowns. One of those 2 pick sixes I don't necessarily put on him. That would go more so on the play calling. You're down there in the red zone. You put the heavy package in and you run Najee Harris 4 times and get that ball in the end zone. But it is what it is. It happened how it happened. And, of course, against Michigan versus Jim Harbaugh, Mac Jones goes out there in that game, completes 16 of 25 passes for 327 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers, and helps the Crimson Tide get a 35-16 victory. So while he does not do the things that Tua necessarily does, you're not going to find too many Tua Tagovailoas walking around the field every day. And something that Mac Jones does do, he throws the ball well. He's confident in throwing the ball well. He can put his teammates in position to have success. But most importantly, he knows when a play is dead and just throw the ball away. There are times where Tua want to make a play so badly where he would hold on to the ball longer than what he should have, and he's either taking a sack or taking a hit or trying to force a play that's not there. So the main thing that Mac Jones does is not only giving his teammates an opportunity to make plays, but when something is not there, he is not shy about throwing the ball away, protecting himself, and playing the next play. A lot of fans feel like if Alabama goes to Mac Jones, does it take a step back from what Tua was able to provide? Not necessarily, because one of the things I did see is the moment Tua went down, Steve Sarkisian did not change the game plan. A lot of times when the starting quarterback goes down and you have no confidence in the backup, you see the play calling becomes vanilla, the playbook becomes condensed. You're forced to call a select amount of plays just due to you are not confident in the backup's ability to thread the ball downfield, to put the ball in the hands of the playmakers. And that was not the case with Mac Jones. Steve Sarkisian fully believed, hey, yes, Tua's down. We don't like it. We hate it. But we got a guy in Mac Jones that we have just as much confidence in to run this offense. And you saw that the young man was able to run the offense.
Let's face it, folks, most of you shop Amazon, so you might as well do so using the link in the description section below, and you help us build the channel. We got Stephen M. Smith on the line from touchdownalabama.com, and we enjoy his analysis each and every time. And, Stephen, I got to say, you got away with words with these analogies. The hotel reference, tremendous.
I mean, I've been to a couple of hotels, Mark, in my life. I mean, I've been to some 1-star, some 2-star, and I'm like, you know what? I just want a place with a bed I can lay my head on. And then I've been to some 4 and 5 stars at the Embassy Suites, and I walk in, I'm like, my gosh, they got pool, weight room facility, continental breakfast. Look at this. So it's the best of both worlds. And it's kind of, at times, that's what Alabama fans want. I mean, they want to win, but now with Tua coming in, what Tua did, he introduced winning with flair, with style, with the sense of flamboyancy, and Tide fans go, wait, hold up now. I kind of like this too. I kind of like the win, but I kind of like this winning with style also. So he exposed Alabama to something different than what they were originally used to.
And I'll put us in the same category. We're no-nonsense guys, Stephen. We're okay as long as the room's clean and it's safe and we can lay our head on the bed. But it is nice when you walk into one of those other places and you can take advantage of all the amenities. All right, Stephen, when you look at the rest of the quarterback room, Mac Jones still has another Tagovailoa to deal with in that room. So if you can just break it down from here.
He does, going by the name of Taulia Tagovailoa, the younger brother of Tua, who was a 4-star in the 2019 class by the way of Thompson High School in Alabaster, Alabama. The young man at 5'11", 210 pounds. Now, he has put on some weight since then. The last time I saw Taulia, it was at Tua's announcement ceremony, and he had appeared to be thicker in the neck, thicker in the upper body, thicker in the hips. So Scott Cochran definitely doing his job in putting some weight and some muscle on the young man. He has a lot of athletic abilities, can break contain of the pocket, extend plays with his legs, and he has a pretty strong arm as well. And that's not like his brother Tua's arm, but Taulia does have some skill sets, some capabilities that you get him on the field, he can be absolutely special in the right situation. Along with Taulia, you've got a Bryce Young coming in here by the way of Mater Dei High School in California. Steve Sarkisian went up to California to get this young man, has known him since he was in the 8th grade, built a relationship with his family, and Bryce Young, absolutely the real deal. A 5-star athlete, a guy that totaled over 13,000 passing yards in his high school career, 152 touchdown passes, 178 total touchdowns, and Elite 11 guy, working with Trent Dilfer, also tore it up in the All-America Bowl down there in Texas. So you have a Bryce Young you have to fend against, and somebody that Alabama fans very excited to see come the A-Day game, which is scheduled for April the 18th, that Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time. And then last, but certainly not least, you have a Paul Tyson, the great-grandson of the legendary head coach Paul Bear Bryant. And while people at times feel like the only reason Tyson was recruited was because he's the great-grandson of Paul Bear Bryant, but that's not the case. Paul Tyson had about 35 to 40 scholarship offers. And we're talking about schools like Kentucky, Ohio State, USC, Notre Dame. Teams were coming at Paul at will, but Tyson, knowing that Alabama is home for him and he wants to defend home. Here's a young man that during his time at Hewitt-Trussville High School in Alabama had a career record of 19-5 as a starter in 24 starts in his career. He threw for over 13,000 passing yards, had 69 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. So the young man can absolutely thread the needle. So it's a very strong quarterback room for Steve Sarkisian. But the three individuals that Mac Jones looking to fend off here, Taulia Tagovailoa, Bryce Young, and Paul Tyson. But the name that everybody is going gaga over is Mr. Bryce Young out of Mater Dei High School.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to get you recruiting geeks and nerds up to speed on the rankings right here, Bryce Young, you don't have to go too far down any list to find him. Number 1 dual threat quarterback, as Stephen mentioned, out of Mater Dei. Number 2 ranked player according to the 247 composite. So that's regardless of position, all the positions, everybody. Number 2 player in the country in this 2020 class. Taulia was the 8th ranked player in Alabama. Number 5 pro style quarterback in the top 200 according to the 247 composite in last year's class. And then also going back to the 2019 class, Paul Tyson, again, he doesn't need to make excuses or disclaimers for anyone. This kid is very accomplished. 12th rated pro style quarterback in the country. So it's legitimate that Alabama would recruit and sign him. And you mentioned the other offers coming in for Paul Tyson. So he is legit. If you scoff at the 12th rated pro style quarterback in the country, certainly go to the rankings, and every year look at the top 10 to 15 players at that position, and you will find some very, very accomplished, very dynamic players. And he's close to a top 300 player in the nation, regardless of position. So Mac Jones has what kind of odds of holding off the rest of the room to gain the starting job in week 1?
He's got good odds here, Mark, and it's due to Nick Saban typically likes to go with the guy that has the experience, the knowledge of the playbook, the experience on the field, the experience within the system. There's only been 2 times where Saban has gone against that criteria against the grain, and that would be the 2016 season where he went with first trotting out Blake Barnett onto the field, a redshirt freshman at that time, against Southern California, and Barnett had some struggles there moving the football. He goes to the true freshman in Jalen Hurts, and the rest is history. And then from that moment, you look at the national championship game 2018 off the 2017 season where, Jalen Hurts, as good as he was, Alabama needed some juice in terms of throwing the football and getting these playmakers a chance to make plays against Georgia. So he rolls the dice and pulls Tua Tagovailoa off the bench. So those were the only 2 times to where Saban has gone against the grain of the experience. More times than not, he likes the guys that have knowledge of the system, knowledge of the playbook, experience within the program. And here's a Mac Jones that enters his 4th season, his redshirt junior year. He showed last year, played in 12 games, had 4 starts. In those 4 starts, he had 2 300-yard passing performances against both Auburn and Michigan. And in his 4 starts, all 4 of those games, he at least threw for 2 touchdown passes. So given the opportunity, he can show you he has the ability to get the job done. And when you talk to Alabama fans, the ceiling of Mac Jones, or the comparison that Mac Jones is often given, is one A.J. McCarron. And A.J. McCarron, 2 national championships as a starting quarterback, 2011 and 2012 during his time with the Crimson Tide. 2013, McCarron finished second to Jameis Winston of Florida State in the Heisman voting during that 2013 campaign. So his comp is A.J. McCarron, but when you look at the way Mac Jones plays and the experience he has, he definitely has strong odds of holding off everybody else in the room. However, I will say Bryce Young will get on the field. Bryce Young will play because, coaches want to see, what do we actually have here? Fans definitely want to see, what do we actually have here? And I remember one Trent Dilfer was quoted as to say that Tua Tagovailoa was ice cream on crack in terms of quarterbacks, and the same people that lauded the praise over Tua, and rightfully so, the exact same people are doing the same due diligence in terms of Bryce Young. And when you have people talking so highly of you, the fans are like, okay, show me the money. Do we really have what we think we have? So Bryce Young will see the field, but Mac Jones will get the first crack at this thing starting week 1 against USC.
Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama breaking down the quarterback position for the Tide in 2020. Stephen, we appreciate you stopping by.
Absolutely no problem.